Hey Tricia, this is Evan. I'm going to give you some feedback on your lesson here. As you know, as it's stated in there, the process is one where I give you some feedback. You're going to go back. You're going to revise it based on my feedback. I'll take a look at it. Typically, designers go through 2 rounds of feedback before they're done. So keep that in mind as we go through that. Okay. So I've got your module open. And this is really the first time I've looked at it, so you're gonna get kind of a raw feedback here as I go through it the first time. So there might be some time where I'm actually, reading things here. So I'm going to talk to you about the table of contents here. You've only got one item in the table of contents, and so we'll talk about that and how to get that here. Okay. So the first thing, looking through here, learning how to play guitar, section 1, rhythms and rests. So one of the things you're going to want to do, so think of yourself as a student, okay? So you've got a student, and the student is going to be going through the module, and these are the objectives here that the student is going to learn in this module, okay? And I'm not sure the age of the student, so I'll just pick an age. We'll say a 5th grader. I don't know if that's correct or not, but typically students will learn values of quarter notes, eighth notes, that type of thing pretty early on in music class. So if they're not familiar with it, then that's okay. So all right. So the first thing is, if you're like a 5th grader and you're going through this module for the first time, think about this. Try looking at this and try reading it as a 5th grader would. And so one of the things we talked about in the self-paced course was the importance of narrative, of really helping kind of to like you're conversing with the student and you're telling a story here. And so right off the bat, I'm not seeing any narrative. I'm seeing kind of, this is really choppy. So I'm going to read this to you. I want you to hear it out loud. The student will learn the value of quarter notes as 1 beat each. The student will learn the value of eighth notes as a half beat each. The student will learn the value of 16th notes as a half beat of an eighth note. 8 notes. There's a typo there. Next are rest values. The value of the quarter rest is 1 beat. The value of the eighth rest is a half of a beat. The value of a half rest is 2 beats. Then it is patterns of quarters, eighth, 16th rhythm sound versus rests of quarter, eighth, half that are silent, demonstrated by completing exercises that break down the basics of rhythm sound versus silence and rest. Make reference to Patterns of Sound Volume 1, Student Edition Images section. The teacher would scan the pages to be learned and practiced by students concerning rhythm, solfege, and a short song to apply the concepts to. And there's a typo there too. Okay. If I'm a student, I'm lost. This really wasn't narrative. You weren't really talking to me at all. And it's going to be very, very difficult for a student to pay attention because in a self-paced lesson, you as a teacher don't have the ability to see the way that they're reacting. You don't have the ability to see when they're starting to space off. In a face-to-face class, you do. But in a self-paced course, you need your lesson to keep them active and keep them fully engaged. And right now, this isn't a narrative. There's no story here. So one of the things you might want to start off with is, what's the context for this? What is this the first thing that they're seeing in the course? Is this building off of something? Is it a new lesson? Something like that. So you might say, let's say this is the very first lesson that they have in a whole course on how to play guitar. So you probably want to spend the first page welcoming them to the course and say, hello, welcome to learning how to play guitar. This course is about, just as it sounds, we're going to learn how to play guitar. But learning how to play guitar isn't as easy as they make it look in music videos or whatever the case is. There's actually a lot of work that's involved, including a lot of ability with fingers and fingering and such. You have to, and you can hear in that description something that's going to be more engaging. This is more of a listing. I'm also really kind of concerned about this paragraph right here. Make reference to Patterns of Sound Volume 1, Sections Edition, Images section. This, I don't, I'm worried. It sounds a little bit like it was copied and pasted out of somewhere. That doesn't sound like something that you would purposefully put into a module for students. If you're copying and pasting, that's not okay. That's because that would be plagiarizing of some other source. So make sure we're not doing that. Make sure if you've got anything in here that was copied and pasted from somewhere else, it's either quoted and referenced or you take it out. Okay. Also, every page I want a visual element, some sort of image or other thing in there. All of our modules, that was a big item that we talked about. We want some sort of image in there. So it could be a video, it could be whatever the case is, but you need some sort of something in there. All right, page 2. Okay, so we're referencing Rhythm and Solfege Basic Patterns in Patterns of Sound, Volume 1, Student Edition. Review the first section on note rhythms, note syllables, and rests that are found in various exercise patterns for clapping and singing. Okay, if I'm a student, I've got to have this book, right? So that should be introduced right away. If I gave this to my son, he wouldn't know what to do because he doesn't have this book. He would have lost interest right away. So you need to go in page 1 and say, you know, to complete this module, you need to have access to these things. And by the way, the more things that you require for students to do, so if they have to have an external textbook or whatever, the harder that module is going to be to go and use, because in a lot of cases, when building online lessons, students don't have access to those. The places where they get a textbook is when they come to a face-to-face class. So, but if for some reason you are working with a group of students and they do have access, like it's in the library or something like that, you need to give them the directions on that this module will be utilizing this textbook, and as part of that textbook, you know, you need to, here's where you can get access to that textbook. Okay, so now listen to these here. So review the first section on note rhythms, note syllables, and rests that are found in various exercise patterns for clapping and singing. Then this would be applied to a song, clapping rhythmic pattern, another typo, singing the melody in syllables with correct notes using solfege. Again, this is not for a student. This is, I don't know, this sounds maybe like you're telling another teacher this, but you want to make it for a student. So if a student is doing this, what should they be noticing? What should they be learning? Yeah, and this is all like directions. And again, I'm just really worried because I don't know if this is your own work or what you're doing here. So so again, I let you know that. All right, so we have a quiz, and it says the students will clap out a pattern with quarters and eighth notes. Okay, but how is a student going to do that in a self-paced module? They're going into the module here. I'm really lost. I don't understand how the student's going to go and do this. Did you happen to take a look at some of the other modules on the system or some of those videos that I showed you? Like, let's take a look at some other modules to give you kind of an idea. So let's see, let's go to the catalog. Go to Fine Arts. And let's just do art appreciation. What is art? Let's just preview that. Okay, so now listen to how this one sounds. So this one was developed by another teacher. As a thought experiment, imagine what a society without art would be like. How would buildings look? Could any kind of visual communication exist at all? It's a provocative question that quickly necessitates defining the boundaries of what does and does not constitute art. This mirrors the complexity of engaging in the online definition of art. Art is studied because it is among the highest expressions of culture, embodying, see how that's quoted there, its ideals and aspirations, challenging its assumptions and belief, and creating new visions and possibilities for it to pursue. When we discuss contemporary art, we are typically referring to the practice of fine art, but prior to the Resistance, art was defined within the realm of functional crafts such as goldsmithing. The idea of autonomous art or art for art's sake was developed later over many eras. Okay, and then we go from there. So this teacher is talking to students and laying the groundwork for why are we trying to understand what is art. Okay, and this is a pretty advanced course, so you can tell from the narrative, you know, when they say things like it's a provocative question that quickly necessitates defining the boundaries. That wouldn't be appropriate for fifth graders. That's more appropriate for high school seniors and such. Okay. So again, they got links to go and show examples and things, and you go from there. Now, that was the introduction. You see here, page 2, this is the outcomes for this. You will, as a student, be able to do these things. Okay? Recognize, summarize these, define aesthetics, describe some. Okay, and that's good. All right, so now we go into the course. We're going to look at medieval to Renaissance. You can see the visual element there. And go through, look at those. She also puts in a video, you know, to kind of overview what's going on in that time period. Okay, and again, coming in here, you can see how she's gone and separated the different areas with a header to make it look good, you know, and such. She's citing her sources and things like that. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an idea. She's writing a lesson for art students here, and the art students are going to go through this on their own. I'm the audience of yours, I'm assuming it's music students. If it's teachers of music, then you need to still do this narrative here and explain to them the reason why they're teaching a certain thing. So again, I really think before you go in and edit what you've done, you need to peruse other modules within the course, or take a look at some of those videos that I sent you on what other students' work is and how I went through and reviewed those. All right, let's do a little bit more of your module. And I'm going to edit it this time instead of doing it in preview mode. Okay, so you see over here, so you got page 1, it's called Rhythms and Rests. In the course, we talked about the difference between these gated pages. You're going to want to make this a unit head. And when you do that, it will then appear within the table of contents here. Only pages, if you save it as a normal page, it won't appear in there. And in your case, go ahead and make all of your pages a unit head. Okay. Also, you don't want to have it be in a different section here. So this is section 1, and then you've got section 2 here. We don't want it to be in a different section. We want it to be in the same section. Okay. Then you say this is a quiz, but it's not a quiz page right over here. Okay. We talked about in our tutorial how you go and make a quiz page. So that's not what this is. Now I'm not really sure the purpose of this. You can have a page, and it could be like you could call it a quiz and not have it be a true quiz page. But if you want it to be a gate, you need to make sure that it's a quiz page here. All right. So these pages you've got in here all need to be in section 1. They should not be in section 3 or 4 or 5. The only way you move from one section to the other is if you have a true gated quiz page, and none of these are quiz pages. This is not a quiz page. You're having students go and do something in the class and such. And again, remember, the purpose of this is a module that a student could go through self-paced and learn what you're trying to have them learn. That's what you set in your objectives. Okay, and then I also mentioned we need to have a visual element in there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just give you an example really quick. So let's say, I'm going to go to my Google search images here. I'm going to go under settings, and I'm going to go down to my, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go to my advanced search settings. I want to make sure that these are free to use or share. Okay, so now these images here can be used. Okay, so let's say I want this one. And I'm going to go ahead and save that image. And maybe I'll do it this way. I will do it this way. Okay. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to my images area. I'm going to browse, get that image that I saved to my computer and upload it. Now it's going to put it down here. I see you've got some in here. That's good. So maybe you did add it in somewhere else I didn't get to. That'd be okay. But let's say this one. I'm going to click on it. Okay. Now I've got this path right here, and I need to copy that, or I can click here, click this blue button. That'll do it too. Copy it. And then I'm going to go back to my page, and I'm going to insert an image, and I'm going to paste it in. And I'm going to click OK. And now, voila, I've got it in there. Now, if I want to, I can click to the right. Oh. Let's do this. You can put to the right. I clicked on the indent, not the. I can put to the right, so that moves the picture to the right. Now, if I were to save this page, save my changes to the page, and I go and I preview it, now I can take off my table of contents and take off my notes, and then they'll look a little better in there. Now, if I think that page is too, or that image is too big, I can come back in. And you see it's 640 by 378, kind of like a TV set, the different sizes. I can go ahead and make it smaller, and that'll make the picture smaller. Okay, so I'm going to delete that out, put it back to the way you had it. Go ahead and save that. All right, so that's how you go in and add images. It looked like you had uploaded some, so maybe you've done that on other pages, and if so, that's great. Just keep on doing that, but I do want that on every page. Okay, all right. So let's do this. Let's go and let's work on getting this revised so that we're writing a narrative. Why don't we get about 3 or 4 pages done, and then email me to say you've got that, you want me to take another look, and I'll do it at that time.